The Whispering House. It was an old, creaky house, one of those that stood isolated at the edge of town, overgrown with ivy and wrapped in an eerie silence. For years, no one had dared to live there, not after the incident with the Aldridge family. The rumors had spread like wildfire. Something in that house had driven them to madness. The locals spoke of voices in the walls, faint whispers that only the unlucky could hear. Sarah wasn't one to believe in stories. Fresh out of college, she jumped at the opportunity to rent the house for next to nothing. She needed peace and quiet to finish her novel, and what better place than a forgotten relic? She brushed off the warnings from the townspeople with a laugh. The first night was uneventful. A light breeze rattled the windows, but the house seemed normal. By the second night, things started to feel strange. The stillness of the place seemed unnatural, pressing on her like a heavy weight. It was on the third night that she first heard it. Lying in bed, Sarah was jolted awake by a faint scratching sound. At first, she thought it was the wind against the window, but then came the whispering. It was so soft, barely audible, like a distant voice trying to speak from behind the walls. Her breath caught in her throat as she strained to listen. The words were muffled, but the tone was unmistakable. Someone was trying to warn her. "Sarah," the voice whispered. "Help, trapped." She bolted upright, heart hammering in her chest. Grabbing a flashlight, she hurried downstairs, convinced that there must be a rational explanation. Maybe it was the pipes or the wind playing tricks on her. But as she crept through the hallway, the whispering followed her, growing louder, more insistent. "Sarah, please, don't leave me." She froze, flashlight trembling in her hand. The voice was coming from behind the wall, just beside the old fireplace. Her pulse quickened as she pressed her ear against the cool brick. There it was again, a faint sobbing now, mixed with desperate pleas. In a panic, she started tearing at the wallpaper, clawing at the bricks until her fingers bled. As the old wall began to crumble, something fell from behind the fireplace, a small, leather-bound journal, its pages brittle with age. Hands shaking, she opened it. The handwriting was frantic, barely legible in places, but the message was clear. It was a diary, belonging to a woman named Abigail Aldridge, written the weeks before the family had vanished. Abigail wrote of a shadow in the house, a dark presence that whispered her name in the dead of night, promising it would take her soul. As Sarah read the final entry, the words grew more erratic. "It wants me. It knows my name. I can't escape. It's in the walls. It's in me." Suddenly, the whispering grew deafening, a cacophony of voices crying out in agony. Sarah dropped the journal and stumbled back, her heart racing. The walls seemed to close in on her, the shadows twisting and writhing as if alive. "Sarah," the voices moaned in unison. "Join us." Terror gripped her. She bolted for the door, but it wouldn't budge. The house had locked her in. The whispers grew louder, closer. Sarah screamed as the darkness surged forward, enveloping her in cold, suffocating dread. The next morning, the house stood as it always had, silent and foreboding. When the townspeople noticed Sarah had stopped showing up, they knew better than to investigate. The house had claimed another soul, and the whispers continued, waiting for the next visitor.